Welcome back. Dominic's going to demonstrate 5 tips for practicing the double bass in jazz music.
Right, and in line with what I'm a big fan of Christian McBride, and he's done some good courses on Open Studio, which I'd really recommend people go and see. But he, so first, I would say use the, even if you don't, I didn't use it for ages, and I basically, actually, Paul, it's crazy because like Paul Chambers was my biggest hero, and but you can't really be into Paul Chambers unless you play with the bow, because such an integral part of his playing. And but it's also really, with the bow, really gets your left hand, tightens that up, gets your tuning better, and helps you swing. So the first tip, it's got this from Christian McBride. He sets his metronome to 70. I do 60. Just do every scale. So you do like, I haven't got a metronome here, but you just go like 1, say it's like 60, go 1 second. So let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, anyway, it's just going to keep it short. So you do every scale over 2 octaves, and if you do that, it takes you about 25 minutes, maybe half an hour. But the whole point is with the bow, you've got to get the sound, and it gets your playing French bow, it gets your sound together. Once you've got your sound together, then because if you don't have a strong sound with the bow, I'm just relaxing the arm, and you're getting the weight of the arm to go on the bow. So you're not, you can't play faster with the bow unless the arm's relaxed. So otherwise, you want that depth of sound.
And are we talking major scale? Are we talking cycle of fifths, or are we talking chromatically?
I just tend to go chromatically up from E to E flat. So I would do that. But you can do whatever way you want, and you can do, it doesn't matter. It's more the time. So you do, you could do major one day, melodic minor, then harmonic minor. I generally tend to practice melodic minor just ascending, because it's the notes for the scale, so you get all the bebop things. But whatever you want to do, diminished scales, it doesn't really matter what you're looking at. It's like 25 minutes to half an hour of just long notes. And when you're doing all right, when you can play the open G string, and especially if you're crossing strings, if you're getting that, so you're not getting a wolf note, you're doing okay.
So it's about that before.
Yeah. So I would say that. And there's loads of other things which with double bass you want to talk about intervals, But I don't want to talk about that. So you need the vertical chiss, but I'm not going to talk about that. So that's the first one. It's just slow notes to get the sound of the bass. Next thing is I talk about how to get the bass. I play along with solos at half tempo, like horn solos, like Charlie Parker's solo on Donna Lee. I set it to 50%, and it's a really good way, because you're trying to get this. Because I struggled. I thought, I had a big sound, but I just felt I didn't have the rhythm or the speed, because Paul Chambers, whatever he says about his sound or whatever, he's just so grooving when he plays. So I haven't got a metronome or anything, but I'm just going to say Donna Lee. I'm going to say half tempo, so I go 1, 2. Yeah, I haven't warmed up. I'm just it's a bit early in the morning, but and just play that half tempo for like 15 minutes. You don't have to, and then you do the solo, which is whatever it is. I normally play along with the record, so, but it's you know.
I've heard you do it. This guy's so disciplined that he sends me videos of it. He goes, oh, check this out. And he'll send me Donna Lee at 200, whatever. And he's there in his running shorts and his trainers. He's about to go for a 3-mile run when he finishes. You know, so that's, I mean, that's serious discipline, you know?
Oh, well, I don't know. It's just because I've got a bit of a big biscuit belly. I'm trying to run it off. But I mean, anyway, no, just, it's hard to do it. And, but I'm just finding playing on half tempo with the bow just gets the sound together. So I would recommend that. So, because you, just help with time with the bow. So,
and I think it says something about lifelong learning, though, that that
I'm 57 now, thank you very much.
You notice I didn't say that. You know, I thought I'm not sure to say it. Well, yes, 57, and you're playing that the best you've ever played it, probably, and at the fastest lick, right? With the bow, which has come on loads.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to work on playing quicker with, and it's definitely for pizzicato. It's things at half tempo, and then just crank them up. Don't worry if you can't get them to 100%. You know, even if you get them to 80, 90%. You know, that's still a good workout, but start at 50%. I use a program called Transcribe. There are other ones available. I think it costs about 40 quid, but it slows down the thing but keeps it at the same pitch. I really recommend that as a teaching tool.
Yeah, so, fantastic. When I was at college, if people were transcribing bass parts, some of the lecturers would get the guy in the oral studio to double speed the bass stuff, but of course, so they could hear because it was quite loud.
All right,
hear it an octave higher, you know.
All right.
But these days, I mean, because I don't suppose the technology was there at the time, but that's amazing, really.
Yeah.
Very good one.
So going to 3, I would say, just want to talk a little bit about the left hand. Now I had some problems. So just let's literally talk about the left hand. Is I used to do this, bend the arm a lot, and I still probably do. But I try and practice slowly. But the thing is it's just, I got this from a guy called Tony Hoffman, who was a great teacher. He still is a great teacher, and I'm a lousy pupil. But the one thing he was, and actually Pete Moore was a really good teacher. He was, technically Pete Moore and Tony Hoffman have been the best teachers I've had. Classical technique. Mick Hutton was really good in a different way, but Tony Hoffman was really good about trying to keep your shoulders level, and then from your elbow, you want that sort of, so you've got a straight line with your left hand, because you don't want it to go like that, because that means you stretch your tendons. So so if you can play as much as you can, keeping that as straight as possible. So you've got your elbow out a little bit, you know. So if you can try and do that, you don't want to. Actually, Jacko's pretty good as well when he plays bass guitar. He's got kind of there's pictures he's kind of got a straight wrist, not bending it over.
When we were at the Guildhall, we had we could do like a second study, an extra option. I did Alexander technique for the. Now I can't say what's right and wrong here, but. We had a few weeks of you line your back with a couple of books behind your head with your knees up and all that, and then she said, next week can you bring your instruments in? And I was there. I think I was there with a classical flautist and a violinist, playing perfect. And of course I was like I played in punk bands when I was about 15, so my technique was far from perfect. And of course I was playing like this, And she said, how on earth do you play a musical instrument like that? And from that day to this, that's really been a thing. It's like, for me personally, is to keep the wrist straighter, just because if you're playing all day every day, you want to look after. It's a bit like hanging from the burning building, whatever. You don't do it like this or whatever, right? So, but I mean, but then you see all kinds of variations on bass guitar, I guess. But that's just my personal thing. Yeah, but that was, like I said, that was literally a minute in Alexander technique lesson. How the hell do you play like that kind of a thing? Yeah, fair play.
So number 3, it's really going to be about practicing slowly. If you want changes to your technique, people I really like Christian McBride, or and Dave Holland's got a nice technique actually, but he but it's to do with I'm not sure we can see the right hand. It's trying to keep the right hand, you can just about see it, at the bottom of the fingerboard. So not letting it drift up. Whatever. I think I'm going the wrong way. But I mean, I find if you keep a consistent position for your left hand, I feel, so your hand's not going up and down all the time. So whatever you're playing if you can keep, I just feel it gives a nicer pop to the note if your technique's always there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So your right hand's not moving around. Now the way to do this is practicing slowly. So I'm really a big believer, all your Paul Chambers solos or whoever you want to transcribe, could be sax solos, just practice them loads, half tempo. And then you'll find that it's kind of, think of it like a pyramid. You practice slowly, and that sets, you'll find that the technique then aligns, if you know what I mean. If you practice slowly, and then you can speed it up. But I mean, it's the meeting two veg for me is practicing something slow. Actually, it's what Jacko said, practice slowly.
And I wish I could remember where this quote comes from, but is it Olivier Messiaen? It was something like, technique is the means by which the heart flies freely.
All right, okay.
Translated from the French, I guess, which is kind of, I think that's fair enough.
Right, okay. That's it. Well, I mean, if you want to have changes in your technique, practice slowly, and all that sort of thing. So 4, I'm going to say is on a bass thing. I would. It's really important that you do speed up those things that you're practicing. So we were talking about to Donna Lee, and I was just saying that I could. I've got it up to 90%, the Charlie Parker version, but I practice a lot with Paul Chambers solos. That's the end of it. So I'm so used to playing it with the thing. Actually, I should remember it more, but I play along with the solo, and it's really important to try and practice those things at full tempo to give you a little bit more bounce. And
well, I heard you do it earlier. I heard you play along with Donna Lee earlier. It was completely mesmerising that you can do it on a double bass. Wow.
Yeah, that's it. I find I tend to practice, but it's just you're practicing to speed up. So the slow practice at half tempo settles your technique, but you do need to practice at full tempo to also give you some bounce and weight to your note. I remember there was a guy, I can't remember, really good drummer who lives in Manchester called Errol Roberts. A friend of his, who's an American drummer, came over and we did a little bit of a play, and he just said, "Hey, nice playing, but think of it like a basketball. You're bouncing a ball." He just basically wanted a bit more bounce from my playing, and that's fair enough. And so hopefully, hopefully I'm getting more of that, because there's some players you play with, it's like, oh yeah, their time's good, but there's no real bottom to the note. You're trying to get,
Well, it sounds huge, man.
Yeah, hang it in there.
I'm bigger than it did, as a young guy.
Well, one other little tip, it's a side tip actually, it's not really a proper tip. It's during COVID, I moved in with my girlfriend, and the first day moving in, I did some practice, and like within 10 seconds, basically they were banging on the ceiling, saying turn it down, and it's tough for bass players. But I went and got one of these mutes, and also I got like about 5 car mats. So I put underneath. This mute goes on the bridge, like so, which I'm not sure if you can see. There you go. So you can see it goes on the bridge and cuts the sound. And it really makes a difference. It's nice to be able to practice and not have your neighbours tell you to stop. So car mats underneath. Try and get forward. So you want to deaden the sound going down, and that mute takes about a third off, and it really means you can practice in places that you don't think you could do before, you know. And I was like, whatever, 54 when I, whatever it is, before I actually thought about getting a mute, but you know, get one that's really good. It means you can practice at different places and people won't complain.
Well, and just on bass guitar, my teacher when we were at college together, he suggested practicing without the amp on bass guitar sometimes. You could listen to, you know, and of course that comes in handy when you don't want to disturb the neighbours, you know. Because of course these things can be quiet too, you know. It doesn't have to be thunder all the time, you know.
There was a guitarist when we were Bill and Otis and I were at college together, called Dave Schooling, who I lived with for a bit, and he quite often he'd just be practicing. He had this little amp practicing guitar, but he just plays into headphones. So that was good. I suppose that's a good thing for a bass guitar. You can do that, can't you?
I haven't done it. I mean, people do that, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have some of the students turn up with these tiny little. They got these mini Marshall stacks and all sorts now, haven't you? There's a lot of ways to do it. It doesn't have to be loud. And of course, I mean, guitar-wise, there's acoustic guitars and stuff, I suppose. But I'm trying to think. Basically, I mean, this may not work. You can even do things like if you're not plugged in, you can rest it against a cupboard.
Yeah.
And it's like quite a bit louder because it's got a resonance. You know, I mean, even against the arm, you know, the wooden arm of a sofa, it's quite a bit louder.
Yeah.
So just things like that. Not like this enormous thing though.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And the last one I'm going to say is, and I think it's really important, is that I'm the worst practicer, terrible student, all that stuff, and so I apologise to the world, and especially all my bass tutors. But one of the things that I found, I actually got this from Peter Martin from Open Studio, which is great, is like if you're practicing something, you know, my trouble is I would practice like, you know, I had all these exercises or whatever, and I would do 2 hours of like warm up and all this stuff before I get to any of the jazz. By which time I sort of my eyes are sort of glazing over. If there's something you're going to work on, you know, if you need to, you know, I would probably do like the half-hour bow thing, you know, as a warm-up. But after that, I'd get into what you're doing, you know, because if you're just doing the jazz at the end of your practice thing, you're going to be dead. So, and one thing I realised, because, you know, if you want clarity in your line, you're going to have to practice vocabulary. So, you know, find a way of doing it. Even if you're playing over a tune, you know, get a tune, you know, even a blues, you know, blues and B flat, you know, get a tune and make sure some way that you can start your practicing your vocabulary earlier, so you're not doing it at the end. Because after 3 hours, you know, sort of, it's a bit harder to do that if you're trying to do new stuff, you know.
I've heard, and again I can't remember where, but you hear people talking about the idea that you should do your creative work at the start of the session, and then the sort of donkey, you know, the stuff that needs repeating a lot, do that at the end when you're tired, you know, because you can practice the stuff you already know when you're tired. The stuff that you don't know that you're learning new, or the creative work, they often say do it at the start before you get your hands too tired. So maybe there's something in that.
Yeah, I think, you know, because we just practice what we're comfortable with. A lot of us do, you know, and so I'm trying to do things that take me out of the comfort zone, like just learning a new tune, learn it by ear or whatever. I'm trying to do more. We're going to link onto maybe another video that we do sometimes, how to break down a 2-5-1 lick. You know, so working on 2-5-1 licks, and I want to have more vocabulary in my playing. So you know, find ways. You know, pick any tune, and you know, blues are fine. You know, and work on trying to incorporate the vocabulary in, you know, so yeah, that's a different point. So maybe that's so what I'm going to try and say is my 5th point, got there rambling, do stuff that you're interested in, that you want to get on with earlier. Don't wait until you've practiced 2 hours, because you probably then won't be in a position. Sometimes we don't have 2 hours to practice, you know, quite often I only have an hour and a half, you know, so I'll do a half-hour one and then I'll get into what I'm doing, you know. So, you know, if you've got a whole day off and you can do that, that's fine. But I mean, you know, for me, the most I could ever really practice is probably 4 hours in a day, you know, and that doesn't happen that often, you know, so it's more likely to be a couple of hours, you know.
I mean, we're both very busy, you know, it's like we'll get fitting it all in, and like I said, I mean, for me, it's walking in from work, I'm walking into work and walking out of work, I'm utilising the dead time. Standing in the queue while the person in front of you is, you know, buying a few things, whatever, practicing, running that stuff in your head, running all your modes and scales to the cycle, all that stuff. But also, I think the big takeaway from this for me is this idea of lifelong learning. Because I mean, I met you, 33 years ago, and you're still trying to get better, and you're working really hard, and you're playing, and some things are better than they've ever been, while working all the time, you know, and then of course getting out and playing. Yeah, lifelong learning, fantastic disciplined example right here.
Well, it's just great when you do a gig with someone, like I've got a gig in whenever you play with someone good, there's always stuff to learn, you know, even if it's like, oh, I should learn that tune in another key, you know, so...
yeah, that's always fun when you're on the bandstand and somebody says, oh, what tune do you want to play? And you call a tune, you know, and they go, oh yeah, well, let's do it in E flat, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'll just get there. I play with these two, I won't mention any names, but one that the piano player wants to do, there's this song called Nobody Else But Me, and the piano player really wants to do the Bill Evans changes, which I don't like as much as what Pete Bernstein does, for example, and they do it slightly different. Yeah, Bill Evans plays it in B flat, and Pete Bernstein does it in C, but they got slightly different set of changes, regardless of the key change. They do slightly different set of changes, but it's good to know more than one set of changes for a tune, you know. So
that's what Dave Cliff used to say. He said first thing you do when you play the tune is you listen to what changes other people are playing, because everybody's got a slightly different idea, and then of course he's got the ears and the ability to just immediately switch to what he's hearing.
Yeah. Hey, I think we've definitely done enough.
Yeah, man.
So anyway, catch you on the next one. Cheers.